Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kryptonite. So let's dive in.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and if you like the video at the end, click on the thumbs up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kryptonite, the crypto investor channel. Today, I'm talking with Colton. We're going to cover regulations, so let's dive in. Hi, Colton. How you doing?
Good, Boris. How you doing today?
Good.
Yeah. So as Boris kind of said, I have some questions about regulations regarding crypto. So I'm going to ask Boris some questions. He'll answer, and then he'll also provide some extra feedback for you guys. So my first question for you, Boris, is, how many countries have adopted cryptocurrency as a legal tender?
So far, there's only one, El Salvador,
Mm-hmm.
in South America, Central America,
Mm-hmm.
is the only country that has legally made Bitcoin legal tender. Now, of course, they still have also the US dollar as legal tender, but it is the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. Now, there are a few other countries like Panama and a few others that are looking into it, and possibly Brazil is another one. So I think that a few countries are looking to start, but El Salvador was a big story. It came out a few months ago. They were the first one to actually legally do it. They actually distributed even some Bitcoins to the population. Now, of course, they didn't distribute the whole Bitcoins to each and every citizen, but they distributed like a fraction of a Bitcoin to each citizen so they could start using it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. And, my second question is, how can crypto prices be protected from social media hype? As you saw earlier this year, Doge to the moon, what Elon did on SNL, et cetera, how can that be protected? Is the SEC doing anything? Is there any protection in place for this?
Well, I mean, like any market, it's always going to be demand and supply, that's going to dictate the price of anything. Now, I think that as the market grows and as Bitcoin becomes bigger and bigger, it's going to take more and more money to move it. So obviously, when Bitcoin was very young, like 10 years ago, it was very easy to move it. It would take just a few tens of thousands of dollars, maybe 100,000, maybe $1 million to really move Bitcoin tremendously. If someone arrived and said, let me buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin right now on an exchange, first of all, there were very few exchange back then. But on an exchange, if someone would buy $1 million, it would literally multiply the price, by 2 or 3 overnight. Today, to do the exact same thing, you would need literally billions and billions of dollars. So as things progress and the market cap of all those coins get bigger and bigger, it's going to take more and more money to actually move the markets. So, but there is nothing that the SEC or any government body can put in place, to say, oh yeah, we're going to stop certain things from happening. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that exists in the stock market is, you have circuit breakers. If a stock drops too much, they usually stop trading for a certain time, like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. And so circuit breakers are in place for the stock market. There is nothing in the crypto world. However, I think that probably with regulations coming to the crypto market in general, it's not impossible that we see the implementation of some type of a circuit breaker in case of a huge drop, to avoid having panics, because the problem of those drops is they trigger liquidations of let's say long positions. If it's a big drop, the long positions get liquidated, and that amplifies the whole thing. So there's nothing in place today, but probably in the near future we're probably going to see a few things. I mean, we're not going to see some major protection from the different agencies of government, but probably a few mechanisms to avoid panic selling.
Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, you can't really regulate social media anyway, so that kind of makes sense. My next question is, how can you mitigate the risk associated with cryptocurrencies and cross-border transactions?
I'm sorry, just to finish on one thing on social media,
Yes, sir.
it is true for the stock market. If you try to manipulate the stock market by, someone famous saying like, oh yeah, Apple, it's the greatest company in the world, this or that, you could get in trouble with the SEC for doing so.
Yeah.
Um, I think that we'll see also maybe those type of regulations where if you do try to pump artificially a crypto through social media, potentially you could get in trouble with the SEC or other government agencies. So, as far as just the social media itself, that's another possibility where we're going to see some regulations where, people will be in trouble if they try to pump a certain crypto.
That makes sense. Okay.
So cross borders,
Yeah, the question is how can you mitigate the risk associated with cryptocurrency and cross-border transactions?
well, I mean, obviously, cross-border payments, if you send to the wrong person, there is no, sending back. So you better be sure you have the right address, you have the right everything. Now, one risk that is off the table with cross-border payments, especially with, let's say, XRP, for instance, which is probably the best for cross-border payments. The advantage of XRP, it takes only anywhere between 2 to 4 seconds, literally, for the money to leave your wallet and go to the other side of the world and arrive onto the wallet of the person you're sending. So first of all, if the transaction is successful because you can talk to them on the phone and say, okay, I just sent it. Did you receive it? They look, yes, I did. Boom. So so that avoids that risk of, oh man, is the money going here or there? Another thing that maybe people don't realize with SWIFT transactions, very often big banks can send money to each other, no problem. But if you're a smaller bank, like a regional bank or a really local bank, most of the time you don't have the mechanism in place to actually send money by yourself. You have to go through a major bank, like let's say JP Morgan Chase or Wells Fargo, whatever. So your bank is sending to JP Morgan Chase, which then sends to that other bank on the other side of the world. And so, of course, it takes time for all those things to happen. I actually did myself the other day an international transfer, which took 6 business days to happen. So very, very long. At the end, I almost thought the money was lost. So for 6 days, you're just like worrying, is it lost? I mean, what can we do to try to retrieve the money? Or so with XRP, for instance, you don't have, and many other cryptos that also can, where you can send money pretty fast. But you don't have that worry because it'll take literally seconds to arrive. The other thing is you better be sure of the address you're sending to because, like I said, there is no calling back. But the cool thing is it's a lot easier for someone to give you their address because they can copy paste it and send it to you by email, and then you copy paste and you're done. Whereas if you do a SWIFT transfer, I'm sure you've seen those forms where you have to put
Yeah.
the name, the address, the bank name, the SWIFT number, the account number. I mean, and if you mess up on any of those lines, maybe not the address, but if you mess up on the SWIFT number or if you mess up on the account number or something, the big problem is it's either not going to go through and it's going to take days to get back to your account. So a lot of those problems get eliminated. And then, of course, the last one are the fees, because fees can be just out of this world on some transactions. With XRP, for instance, you can literally send $100 million and it's going to cost you like 5 cents, something like that. I mean, just a few cents to
Yeah.
send millions and millions of dollars, and it's instantaneous. So you know on the other side, plus the other thing that you can do to prevent any problem, let's say you need to send $100,000 to someone on the other side of the world. You can tell them like, hey, send me your address. You send them $10 worth of XRP, and you just wait. Did you receive it? Oh, yes, I did. Okay, now it's the right address. You save that address in your address book, on your wallet or in your exchange, and now you're sending the rest of all the money because and doing that extra step of sending the money twice, sending a very, very small amount and then sending the real amount, at the end, you're going to be spending, like 8 cents total,
Yeah.
still be a lot cheaper than sending through Swift, but that's what I would do. I've done this myself, especially when I have a new account or a new wallet and I have money on an exchange. Just to be on the safe side, I usually send a very small amount to that new wallet so that I make sure that I didn't make any mistakes, that there were nothing wrong,
Smart. Yeah.
before you send the big amount.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's really smart, definitely. And to follow up on that, and the question I just asked, one thing people are asking is, do you think and this is a broad question here, do you think developing countries should adopt cryptocurrency as a legal tender, to help, with the mishaps in their country for being a developing country, et cetera? Do you think this is something that these smaller countries will adopt, to help them grow and become a bigger country?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's going to help them a lot is the stability of cryptos. If they use a cryptocurrency, first of all, gold, you cannot exchange. I mean, if you buy gold bars, yes, they're going to retain their value, in those countries. But the problem is you can't just pay people with a gold bar. You can't cut your gold bar in half or like in small pieces and say, like, let me give you 0.1% of my gold bar. It just doesn't work. Crypto is much easier to exchange now. The biggest thing these days is everybody in the world, including all the smaller countries, everyone has a cell phone, So the great thing is, and that's a big problem in a lot of those small countries, they are usually unbanked. A lot of people don't have banking accounts, but they all have a cell phone. So Cardano, for instance, is doing a lot in Africa to try to develop banking based on the cell phone, where people can have their Cardanos, onto their account, and they can spend those Cardanos, like they would with a regular bank account. So it's going to replace banking, in all those small countries. So I think it would be a great advantage for them to jump on the bandwagon. And El Salvador, was the first one to make it legal tender. But I think we're going to see more and more adoption, because in many countries, they all have cell phones. Not everybody has computers. And the banking, it's in some parts of certain countries very hard to get to. The bank might be, 50 kilometers away. And it's sometimes they don't have online banking. Those banks, you got to go in person to withdraw money or do any operations. So I think that's the reason why we're seeing the adoption of crypto at a much faster pace than the internet was adopted, is because today the infrastructure is in place. Everyone has a cell phone, so everyone can buy, sell, exchange, send, receive cryptos.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And my last question, and we kind of been talking about the technicality of regulations. You recently just did a video on Ethereum gas being too high. People are asking, what are the regulations on them using too much gas? Too much emission. What is there going to be any regulations on the environment side? Or we talked, like I said, about the basics of what there's in place right now for the business side of things, but what about the environment side? Is there anything going to be in place soon, or is there something already there in place to stop the emissions, to stop the gas, etc.?
So on the gas, I think the biggest regulation, it's going to be competition. I mean, we see it already with Solana, Matic, Cardano, XRP, all those guys, their fees are extremely, extremely low. So we're going to see a lot of projects switch probably away from Ethereum. I mean, there's space for everyone. It's not like Ethereum's going to disappear and Cardano is going to take over. I think there's space for a few big blockchains out there. Ethereum has the advantage of being the well-known one, and very well established, tons of projects running on it. The downside is, of course, the gas fees, but the gas fees are going to disappear, or at least being greatly reduced when Ethereum 2.0 comes out. But Ethereum 2.0 is not out yet. When is it coming out? No one really knows, but suspect around Q1, Q2 next year. But in the meantime, Solana, Matic, Cardano, they're doing a lot of things where the gas fees are virtually non-existent. I mean, literally, you could mint NFTs on Matic for fractions of cents. So it's virtually a non-issue. So I think that all of those are going away. And the biggest reason why Ethereum had high gas fees was because it was a proof of work. So it's going to proof of stake, and that's going to eliminate all the gas fees because there will be no more miners in Ethereum. No one will be mining Ethereum anymore because there'll be a proof of stake. So that makes a big difference. And then the whole environment thing where people were accusing Bitcoin, to use a lot of energy and so on and so forth. I think the cryptocurrency is probably one of the best industry and one of the greenest industry in the world. They're so green conscious, they are doing everything they can to be on renewable power. 75% of all Bitcoin mining is done on renewable energy. That's one of the reasons why, for instance, El Salvador, said, what, we have a lot of power through the volcanoes. They have actually a big station where they produce a lot of energy because of the volcano, and they do all that thing with the heat exchange and all those things. And they're telling everyone, like, hey, come to El Salvador, we give you great advantages, no taxes, no taxes on your capital gains. So, and we got great renewable power. So that's, I think, where we're going to see everybody's going to try to go greener and greener, to the point that a few years from now, XRP, I think Ripple has already announced that they want XRP to be zero footprint, zero carbon emission, in the next 7-8 years. So that's the whole idea, is that everything will be running on renewable energy. XRP, Ripple actually just spent $45 or $44 million on a big solar project in the US. So they're investing large amounts of money. All those cryptos are investing large amounts of money to promote renewable energies. And because they have the money, because of crypto being so successful and growing so fast, we're going to see a lot of green projects financed by crypto to make themselves, as soon as possible, completely green and have a zero footprint.
That makes sense. And, I brought that question up because, me being so new, you do see that a lot, and, I'll be honest, I'm not very, green in general. So, I brought that question up because, I didn't know if there was, a bad side of the emissions coming out, too much gas. So that is interesting. From my side, Boris, I appreciate all the information today.
I think that's it for today. So thank you, Colton. Thank you, everyone, for following us, and we'll see you next time on another Crypto Night video. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris.
I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. And if you like the video at the end, click on the thumbs up.